According to a study done by the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or the ASPCA, every year over 6.5 million animals enter the animal shelter to be kept until they are adopted or until they die. Some of the animals never get adopted and live the rest of their lives in a shelter. Due to issues of overpopulation, shelters also do not have enough time or resources to care for all the animals in need. Of those, approximately 3.3 million are dogs and 3.2 million are cats. In addition, each year, approximately 1.5 million shelter animals are euthanized, 670,000 being dogs and 860 being cats. I believe it is time to provide more methods of support for these animals and for us to take responsibility for these animals and work towards decreasing overpopulation in the U.S. Companion animals are important parts of our community and often considered part of the family. Most people grow up with pets or have a pet currently and care about the well-being of their animal. However, there are still roughly 70 million stray animals living homeless in the U.S., according to a study done in 2014 by PEPCO about the homelessness phenomenon of pets. I spent 7 years in the Central Coast of California volunteering at a small animal shelter. I helped with adoptions, led educational programs in my hometown, and fostered hundreds of kittens until the day they were adopted. Because of this experience, I feel a personal connection to this issue. I have done extensive research on how to increase education on this issue and work towards a decrease in overpopulation of these companion animals in individual communities. There are thousands of animals without homes in the U.S. due to overpopulation and abuse. In order to support this issue and give more support to these animals, there are important first steps that need to be taken regarding animal welfare. This problem affects everyone in the community, including pet owners, shelter workers, and the animals themselves. While this is an issue all over the U.S., the plan I am proposing can be implemented into a large variety of communities. Decreases in overpopulation will benefit not just the animals in the community, but pet owners, veterinarians, and others who work in animal welfare. These numbers show a staggering issue with the regulation of our animal population and depicts how widespread this problem has become. Research by PEPCO in 2014 show that the main reason animals are being entered into shelters is that they are being surrendered by their previous owners or picked up by animal rescue officers. Of these animals entering shelters, only 10% are spayed or neutered. Now, why does this matter? This is an issue because within 6 years, a female dog and her offspring of her first litter could give birth to over 67,000 puppies in a year. And according to the Watgana Humane Society, one female cat and her offspring of her first litter can give birth to over 420,000 kittens in a year. Because of this, 50% of dogs in kill shelters will be euthanized, and 80% of cats into kill shelters will be euthanized due to a lack of space for all the animals coming into the shelters. In order to prevent these numbers from increasing, the best way to decrease overpopulation of these animals is for people to spay or neuter their animals. According to the Humane Society of the U.S. in 2019, many counties have spay or neuter laws that require pets to be sterilized or require people with unaltered pets to pay a higher license renewal fee. These laws are meant to decrease the issue of overpopulation of domestic pets in certain counties all over the U.S. Because of this issue, I believe an increase in education and implementation of different support systems for these shelters can help regulate overpopulation in the U.S. I understand the application of policies regarding welfare may be difficult and take considerable amounts of time to affect the entire nation, but I believe this is an issue that deserves support, and first steps should be taken to help these animals. The plan I am proposing involves 3 areas of support that the community would need to help regulate overpopulation of these companion animals. The first of these being an increase in education regarding the issue and what people as community members and pet owners should be aware of. Events such as community gatherings or youth education programs can be a good way of getting people in the community together and educating them of these issues. In the Santa Barbara County of California, I volunteered at a part of a nonprofit education program called Camp Hope, which is run and funded by the Santa Barbara County Animal Care Foundation. This program worked within the youth of the community and taught them the importance of spaying and neutering, vaccinations, microchips, and other methods of animal safety and welfare. I believe an increase in the implementation of programs like these would help educate the public about these issues and further increase the number of owners who take precautions to end overpopulation. The next step in my plan is to increase the amount of veterinary and clinical assistance available to the community despite any socioeconomic variations. Discount days, vouchers, or discount plans will bring people to shelters and in order to care for their animals or to adopt a future pet. This also allows people to be enticed to get animals spayed or neutered more in order to decrease overpopulation of these animals in the community. Research by the ASPCA shows that this increase in the amount of people who are providing veterinary care to their animal increases spaying or neutering their pet. The ASPCA even provides a low-cost spay and neuter program finder to educate people on the resource. By allowing lower-class families the opportunity to get their animals fixed, the number of animals getting the support they need to be healthy and not contribute to overpopulation will increase. Finally, my plan to decrease overpopulation of these animals in the U.S. includes developing different outreach programs partnered with animal shelters in the community that can benefit both animals and groups of individuals that need support. Bringing animals to different environments via the use of outreach programs in order to be socialized is a great way to bring positivity to the community and increase the likelihood of these animals being adopted. By bringing animals to places like prisons, schools, elderly homes, or hospitals, the animals are able to be socialized while these groups are able to feel more supported by their community. This makes animals more adoptable and increases the rate at which shelters adopt out pets. An article written by Hamilton in 2016 talks about the benefits of bringing kittens to inmates as a method of socialization for both the animal and the convict. This is a way in which animals and demographics of people who usually do not get needed support could benefit from an increase in outreach programs through shelters. Now that I have explained my plan for decreasing overpopulation of the animals, I would like to explain why this plan is practical, why it is a practical use of funding and time. My plan would increase the amount of pet owners that spay and neuter their animals, decreasing the amount of unplanned litters being born and abandoned or surrendered to shelters that do not have the resources to care for each animal. Money from the decreases in high litter counts may then be channeled towards the outreach programs and resources for the clinics and medical assistance necessary from veterinarians. Because these educational and outreach programs would primarily be run through the use of volunteers, the cost of this plan would mainly come from the purchase of resources to care for the animals in the shelters. According to the American Humane, funding for these animals in shelters often comes from tax collections each year administered by the state government. Research by PEPCLO states that $1 to $2 billion from taxpayers goes to resources needed by shelters due to high levels of overpopulation. Resources such as euthanasia, sheltering costs, and disposal costs for each animal. Increased funding for shelters, clinics, and outreach programs could be a benefit to a large variety of people in the community. Future or current pet owners, shelter owners or workers, veterinary staff members, and those being visited by those outreach programs, including students, the elderly, and inmates, all benefit from the implementation of those programs. As an example, personal recounts from the Best Friends Animal Rescue Program shows that inmates often feel less anxiety and depression after consistent visits from the kittens in these programs. In addition, more animals would receive the support and resources they need due to an increase in education of these necessities. The primary counterargument against my plan would be the increased demand of shelter workers and volunteers implemented in these programs. While there are many people in each large community that often participate in volunteering, the amount of people needed who are comfortable communicating with a variety of people and handling animals is often very high. This specific demographic is often not guaranteed in each community, calling for a larger demand based on the location. This is also an issue because the workers are usually not paid, which means there is no guarantee that there will be enough people implemented in these plans. While this is not a guarantee, I believe the benefits of this plan outweigh the cost of needing a significant amount of volunteers. While the advantages are significant in the ability to decrease overpopulation of animals in the U.S., there are some disadvantages to my plan as well. One disadvantage is the high number of working parts that are necessary in order to make a difference. With the focus being on education and outreach, the amount of time, planning, and resources necessary is very substantial. In addition, there are some who believe that the work put in is not going to be worth the benefits that would then be observed. Companion animals are important parts of our community and oftentimes become part of our families. As we stay uneducated on the effects of neglect to care for these animals, and the number of animals without homes becomes larger. The lack of people spaying and neutering their animals and the high number of litters not being cared for has led to an unregulated phenomenon of overpopulation. By educating the public, allowing an equal opportunity for families to have resources they need, and providing ways to bringing animals closer to the community, we can see a decrease in overpopulation. Now, I ask you to think about how you can contribute to your community and how we can give back to the animals that have provided us with the support, or with this great amount of support. I'd now like to take any questions from you that you have for me.
I have a question. Is this just for cats and dogs or exotic animals also?
Most of any program that I found is just cats and dogs, but they're working on exotics. I think there's one in Denver and some that are outside of the US, but most of the time it's just cats and dogs. Adam?
What about people that refuse to get their pets spayed or neutered?
Hopefully at least they get their pets microchipped, that way they can at least hunt down their animal before the animal then procreates numerous times, especially if they have a male animal. So no matter what, education programs would then be beneficial for different types of demographics, even if they don't want to spay and neuter, even though that is the most efficient way. Yeah.
So you talk about how you want to reduce the number of animals in shelters, but what about the huge number of animals that are already in shelters?
Mainly that's what the outreach programs are for, is just to educate people that shelters kind of exist, and that they're there, that they have animals that are worth having. And so integrating them into the community is going to make the people in the community kind of realize that they want an animal in their family, hopefully. At least let them know that there's different ways other than breeders and other than a family member having an animal. Okay, thank you.